Jesus and his disciples were tired. They had been traveling from town to town spreading the message of hope and healing. The days were long and the demands were endless. The disciples in particular felt the weight of their mission. They had given so much of themselves, and now, they were in desperate need of rest. They had been teaching and healing for days, moving from one village to another, meeting the needs of the people. Every day brought new challenges and new faces, each with their own stories and struggles. And they just wanted a little rest. The disciples longed for a moment of peace, a chance to recharge their weary bodies and minds. They hoped to find a quiet place where they could be alone, away from the constant demands of the crowds. They decided to sail across the Sea of Galilee to a quiet place. The gentle waves and the promise of solitude beckoned them. It seemed like the perfect escape, a brief respite from their relentless mission. But the crowd saw them leave. The people, desperate for more of Jesus' teachings and miracles, were not ready to let them go. They watched the boat sail away and quickly spread the word. They ran along the shore and got there ahead of Jesus. Determined and eager, they hurried to the other side, hoping to catch another glimpse of the man who had brought so much hope and healing into their lives. When Jesus stepped out of the boat, he saw thousands of people waiting. He didn't get upset. Despite his own exhaustion, he saw the faces of those who needed him. He didn't complain about not getting a break. Instead, he felt a deep compassion for them. He understood their struggles and their pain. He saw their needs and had compassion on them. His heart went out to them, and he knew that his mission was far from over. He began teaching them about God and healing their sick. He spoke words of comfort and hope, and his touch brought relief to many. The crowd grew larger as the day went on. More and more people gathered, drawn by the promise of healing and the message of love and compassion that Jesus shared. As evening approached, the sky turned a deep orange, casting long shadows over the land. The disciples started to worry, their faces etched with concern. "We're in a deserted place," they said to Jesus, their voices tinged with anxiety. "It's getting late, and these people need to eat." The crowd was growing restless, their hunger evident. "Send them away so they can go buy food in the nearby villages," the disciples urged, pointing towards the distant settlements. Jesus looked at his disciples and smiled, a knowing look in his eyes. "You feed them," he said. The disciples were confused, exchanging puzzled glances. They only had 5 small loaves of bread and 2 fish, a meager offering for such a large crowd. That wouldn't even feed all of them, let alone a crowd of thousands. The sheer number of people was overwhelming. Philip, one of the disciples, exclaimed, his voice filled with disbelief. 200 denarii worth of bread wouldn't be enough for each of them to have a little. The disciples were at a loss, unsure of what to do next. Jesus took the loaves and fish in his hands. He looked up to heaven and gave thanks. Then he broke the bread and fish into pieces and gave them to his disciples to distribute. As the disciples began to hand out the food, something amazing happened. The bread and fish multiplied in their hands. There was more than enough for everyone. People ate until they were full and satisfied. When everyone had finished eating, the disciples gathered up 12 baskets full of leftovers. It was an astonishing sight, a testament to the miraculous event that had just taken place. The crowd, which had been hungry and weary, was now filled with joy and satisfaction. The disciples, who had initially doubted how such a small amount of food could feed so many, were now left in awe. They couldn't believe their eyes. The sheer abundance of food was beyond their wildest expectations. It was a moment of revelation, a powerful demonstration of divine providence and generosity. Jesus had taken a small amount of food and turned it into a feast that fed thousands. This act was not just about quenching physical hunger, but also about nourishing the spirit and strengthening the faith of those who witnessed it. The miracle of the feeding of the 5,000 is more than just a story about food. It's a profound lesson about trust, faith, and the limitless possibilities when we believe in the power of God's love. It's a story about faith, compassion, and the boundless abundance of God's love. The faces in the crowd reflected a newfound hope and a deep sense of community, brought together by this miraculous event. When we trust in Jesus and share what we have, even if it seems small, we open the door to incredible possibilities. The act of sharing, no matter how insignificant it may seem, can lead to extraordinary outcomes. God can do amazing things. He can transform our humble offerings into something magnificent, something that can touch and change lives in ways we never imagined. He can take our meager offerings and multiply them beyond our wildest dreams. This miracle serves as a reminder that with faith, compassion, and a willingness to share, we can be part of something much greater than ourselves.